Today is June 30th. Today is June 13th, 2024, and it's the first session of a three-session series of ABC of Behavior Modification workshop. So, first of all, we need to jump into the, what we say, outlines. So, in session one, that is today, we talk briefly about behavior and why we have concern and why it exists and why it emerged and how it emerged, behaviors from different angles and also different lenses. And there is a kind of quick Q&A. Section two, there is another outline that is more practical or solution-based. And also session three, which on June 27th, the last session, there is a kind of longer Q&A and also more strategic session. But at the moment, we need to jump into some basic things to set the ground first. I'm definitely sure that this session, even though it might seem a little theoretical, but it could be very fun. So just rest assured that many of the questions that you might have about how to manage a child's behavior would be addressed. But it's not guaranteed that after these three sessions, you definitely know what to do with your own child, because your own child has a specific, unique personality or character, and no one can claim that through a kind of one blinded way. Some therapist or practitioner, without knowing about the details of the characteristics of the person or personality trait of a child or the family, can prescribe something that definitely works. But there are some ABC rules that we can discuss today. Is the total number of hours that we are going to spend on behavior modification topic is 2 hours, but to be honest, it had the capacity to be expanded up to 12 hours. So that's why I'm saying that many details will be pointed out briefly to give you some sense, or no, it makes sense to you first, and then we might expand it later. So let's start with a scenario. Just imagine that there is a kind of round table, the gathering of 4 moms with children with different ages, and each mom has brought her own child, boy or girl, and the boy and girl are playing in basement. They are playing in different section of the room, and since they are playing, they are a little far from the mom, and at the same time that the moms are having afternoon tea or chilling out or talking about different things. But in the meantime that they are talking about different diverse topics, but each one of them have something in their mind. For example, one of the mom is a little worried about what if the child bites another child when getting angry during playtime. The other mom, at the same time that sipping the tea, is very happy that her child is able to defend his rights and no one can bully him. Okay. The other mom feels that I'm not fully confident if my child accepts the suggestions or cooperation from any of the playmates idea. When it comes to the kind of cooperative play, that child is not flexible enough to accept the ideas being shared by others. And in the meantime, another mom has minimum expectation that I hope my child can stay aligned with the other children at least 10 minutes without sticking my head. So they have sat around a single table, sipping tea, it seemed that everything seemed normal. and children are chilling out or playing or even battling or fighting, who knows? But the concern that is preoccupying the mind of the moms is something like this. So it's a scenario that we should make sure that how different families uh, and different children from different background or different experience with different skill set, abilities, capabilities, or weakness or strength, or past experience might have different manifestation or concern, and it is very important to double emphasize on uniqueness and individuality of each person. It's very important that most of the time in parenting workshop, I have witnessed that the wish of a family is the concern of another one. And um, some families, some mom might be afraid of uh, excessively gaining weight for a child who is extremely eating everything and the door of the refrigerator is not being closed at all, and the other mom is wishing a day that the child just is two proper portion in a row. So we go forward. Today we are going to learn a little about this thing, about the behavior and behavioral challenge first. First of all, I want to tell a very uh, kind of obvious thing in the beginning that we do not we do not showing behavior. Actually, we live our life. Actually, any person, every moment of life is having some behavior. But it doesn't mean that we are doing the behavior. We live the life. So once we are going to study those actions, reactions, interactions, we need to pick a topic and say it's the behavior. But in the beginning, it's a life that we are in it to the fullest. So whatever we say, whatever we do, whatever we control ourselves of saying that, whatever we inhibit ourselves of doing that, they are all behaviors, a different manifest of the behavior. So in general, behavior is the way of connectedness. Connectedness to who? To the environment, to the non-human environment or human environment or the time or the occupation. Anyway, it's connectedness. The way of adaptation and the way of mastery, all of them are behavior. So as an example, just if a child is picking nose and putting finger in the nose, maybe in the beginning, we might say that, oh, this child is doing this to make me nervous, for example. But who knows, maybe the child has gotten cold, and after that cold, uh, the mucus inside the nasal area is kind of dry, so he needs to just fidget around to clean it. But since it is not socially appropriate, and since the child is at the age that should be aware about the social surrounding, so the mom gets nervous of observing this behavior. But actually, it's not a behavior. The child is just getting rid of that dryness in the mucus of the nasal area. So it's just an example. And um, actually, the best term about behavior is the way we solve the problems. So we live to tackle the problem. And the way we solve the problem is the way we adapt ourselves with the situation or we try to gain the mastery over the situation. They are all called behavior. And so, but uh, they are behavior. But when it comes to the behavior challenge, when we can say it's the challenge, okay? It's a very important thing that you know a child from infancy to adulthood changes in many aspects. Uh, responsibility, skill, authority, domain of performance, areas of concern, areas of occupation. And for example, if we say that is barking okay or not okay, it depends on the age. If it's the kind of little infant, we even love a child, an infant that keeps barking mom's breast. We say, oh, ouch, oh, it's a kind of energetic child. But we never say that, oh, it's the misbehavior of an infant that biting mom's breast. Oh, hey, you are taking milk from me and you are biting me? Oops, it's not appreciated, it's not accepted at all. It's ridiculous that a mom feels that biting from an infant is not accepted. But when the child grows up to toddler area, once the child learns how to communicate verbally or how to solve the problem in more appropriate way, then biting is gradually becoming not okay. And when at the end of the adulthood, just for example, Suarez as a soccer player or Mike Tyson might bite some person in a battle and then get a red card from a referee or get suspended from sport activity. So biting from an adult will be forbidden, but biting from an infant, not that bad. It's a sign of life. So same thing applies to crying. We accept that a toddler cries sometimes, but a child who is a schoolgoer can. It's better that the child speaks up on his needs. Why should he talk? Why should he cry for that thing? Sometimes psychologically or based on mental health approach, when we say crying is not okay, we don't mean that crying to express ourselves or our feeling is not accepted. Everyone has this permission to cry, and it is actually a very good sign of mental health that a person, any person, expresses his feeling or his feeling. But we are mostly talking about when you can talk. Actually, once you become able to talk, then crying is a little weird or not accepted socially. Or, for example, staying up late at night. So actually, infant can't be judged for staying up at night, but it's good for his health to stay early, to go to bed earlier. But for an adult, it's totally okay that to stay late at night. Yes? For teenagers, somehow. But for elementary school goer, not at all. Yeah? So the same thing applies to arguing, that kind of adult is expected to argue with a colleague to stick for his right, to fight for his right. But an elementary school student would not be, it's not kind of very appreciated or accepted socially for arguing. So similar thing about hitting others and refusing responsibility, that I got just kind of examples of when we are talking about okay or not okay, is mostly about the scope of responsibility, skill, and area expectation from society and community, that which behavior could be considered challenging or okay. So why should we be concerned? Because most of the time, when child grows up and becomes an adult, gradually we are moving from some fantasy to some reality. The reality of the life is that the life is embedded with lots of limitations. Limitation in time. There are many deadlines to be met. There are limitation in resources. Maybe the mom that doesn't have enough money to buy everything from the toy shop. The limitation of energy, trust, power, or skills are the limitations that as children grow, they come to accept this bitter fact that the life is not going to be eternal providing. There is a kind of ongoing deal between what we do and what we can expect in return. And the older we get, we have to give more with less expectations somehow. But if a child, a teenager, a kind of an infant here, that is at the current moment, she, or he is living at the current moment without any sense of worry or sense of being worried or concerned about future, without understanding at all about the future or the time, that infant would be accepted as is. If she burps, if she bites, if she cries, if she poops in pants, okay? The mom still loves with no condition. But when the same child grows up and goes to school, if she poops in pants, it's not accepted. So many of the times we are concerned because the future responsibility or expectation from community based on the limitations in the real life exist and impose children or human being to behave in a civilized way in the era of limitations. So there are many things that gradually will be added. Fears of a child, sense of belonging to a tribe or family, moral values, deals, rules, policies, and codes gradually, one after another, come and then make the responsibility weightier and huger. So, why behavioral challenges exist at all? It's a very important slide. So, every behavior has a purpose or benefit. That sentence is the pivotal sentence in the whole three sessions. We have to refer this sentence every time. But what is the purpose of benefit of every behavior? What is the common purpose of every behavior that every person does in every second of the life? That is control. Control. Sometimes a form of control would be manifested by securing the safety. Sometimes it is setting territory. Sometimes it is appraising. Sometimes it's for joyfulness. Sometimes it's for taking support or attention or seeking attention. Sometimes it's for readiness and practicing some skill. Sometimes it is for mastery over something. Sometimes it is for, let's say, communication, and finally, advocacy. Okay, so I bring some little example about that control concept and its relation to behavior. So, if a child during a playtime bites his peers to get to the toy he wants, in fact, that child is non-verbally setting territory. Yes, in fact, that child wants to regain control over getting to what he wants, a toy. And there is a fight, but since he is not mature enough to use his mind in a kind of more diplomatic way or political way or more appropriate way, just biting as a kind of primitive reaction to some unwanted situation, biting someone so that's setting territory, exactly like other mammals, exactly like other animals or mammals, yeah? So it is setting territory, and even setting territory is somehow is very similar to advocacy. But advocacy is a kind of more political word that comes after being able to talk or negotiate or argue. But setting territory is just biting or hitting or headbanging or bruxism or chewing the something or chewing the clothes, okay? Or even sometimes peeing, pissing, whatever. So maybe sometimes the child just does something for joyfulness, just want to have maximum satisfaction or joyfulness in some area or some environment, but is not caring about the consequence of the behavior. Maybe we feel that, oh, that child is so selfish because there was only one banana on the table for 5 people around the round table, and that child comes and picked the banana carelessly and got away. So it means that that child is selfish. No, that child is behaving something to reach out to maximum joy. Wanted banana and picked it up regardless of morality, regardless of social considerations, that child just wanted to gain a control and reaching to joyfulness by that behavior. So if a child yells out loud when she feels that whenever I yell, I can have an upper hand in negotiation. Just imagine that the child says, I want to go outside. And then mom and dad say, no, sorry, today, now it is 10 p.m. now at night, and everybody is closed. We cannot go outside. Wait, no, sleep right now, and then tomorrow you can wake up and then we take you to the park. But the child said, I want to go right now. And then the family all together wrap up and go out. So in fact, the family, the mom and dad, because of sitting in apartment, because of being afraid of the neighbors complaint, because of they are being afraid of the neighbor who is the, for example, a spouse's mom who is in the neighborhood and might interfere in the parenting style, anything they are having lower hand in this negotiation. So once the child raise the volume of saying, I want to go out right now, then the child has some extra power, and then that child can dictate her wish. And then you will see that family happily walking at 10:15 p.m. at night in a park and even buying an ice cream by the second yelling. So it's regaining control by some behavior. So it is yelling, but the superficial level of the behavior is yelling. The underlying purpose or benefit is control or advocacy, setting territory or regaining mastery of something or attention seeking or anything like that. So it's very important to know that if we want to change or modify a behavior, at first step, we have to first detect the benefits of that behavior for a child at a certain environment. Two, provide the same benefits to maintain the needs. Three, prepare a way for a child to get to the benefits from a more appropriate way. So how? Just imagine that a child and that scenario of yelling and having an upper hand and also pushing the mom and dad to go out to a park at 10 p.m. at night, if that child comes to clinic and I will say, okay, mom and dad, can you take your child? Do you know that your child actually yells, and right after that child yells, you have helped her reach to what she has insisted? But in the beginning, the child just said, let's go to the park, and you didn't listen to her. But right after she yelled, you listened to her. So I have a suggestion. Maybe it's a better idea that you say there is a kind of magic word which is called please. So if your child comes to you and say, let's go out at night at 10 p.m. to the park, please, even though we still believe that going to park at 10 p.m. is not okay in generally, but in order to give a power to the magic word of please, first we say, okay, oops, initially we disagree with going to park because it's too late. But you said please, so it's a magic word. So let's go out. And we go out late at night to the park to give the same power to the magic word please, the same power that the child used to have by yelling. So the child feels, okay, I'm securing my power by a more political way of talking more politely to the family, to the mom. So 2, 3, 4 more times the child might use please and even might misuse the word please by saying it in kind of not appropriate timing. And the family said, oops, okay, it's magic word. But gradually, once it's lowered the friction between the family members, the family might set another rule that sometimes if you say please, I have to say that, okay, we need to wait for 10 minutes, please, till we get ready to go out. We need to wait for 5 hours till your dad comes home and together we can go out, or etc. Yeah. So behavior is here. We are talking about behavior interpretation. It's a very lovely slide, I think. So let's see that slide first. What is it? For sure, we all know that it's an elephant, but it's from that angle. Same elephant. Can you spot it? It's zoomed out. That tiny black spot at the center of the paper or the picture is an elephant here, but you can't see it. But it exists. It exists, but we just zoomed out. There's another elephant here. Oh, it's fully zoomed in. Even you cannot detect where it is, but you feel that from the texture of the skin, it's an elephant, but it's fully zoomed in. Oh, it's from front, and it's from the top, and it's from side, and all together you see them. And one of the elephants even or from the bottom that I haven't seen it because there is a kind of great view here. So all of them are elephants, same elephant. But when we look at the different angle, we might have different interpretation. For example, a person or a family or a mom or dad who is very, very less sensitive to the child's behavior maybe has a kind of fully zoomed out approach. That, for example, a mom who is happy that no one can bully the child and that child can defend her right, but in fact, that child is the one who is biting others there. So even though the family is very confident that no one can bully the child, but another behavioral disorder or issues exist that have been ignored by the family because the family has zoomed out and the behavioral expectation is so different from the reality of the child. Yeah? So another too worried or fully sensitive mom might be like a person who is zooming in the elephant and seeing almost nothing. Because the more you zoom in, you cannot have a big picture about the child's behavior. So a good thing about knowing the behavior of a person is to walk around that to gain a kind of better scanning about the behavior. Walk around means that if you see a child behavior, simply don't say, oh, my child is getting spoiled, or oh, my client is not cooperative with me, or the child is very arrogant and stubborn, for example. So actually, when you say stubborn, you might see the child like a front elephant. But does it help? Does it show the beauty of that elephant at all? goodness, no. But once you walk around, you see, oh, that elephant is beautiful from side and it's funny from bottom, and it's, you know, many different angles, many might give you different aspects of interpretation. But the last picture is the loveliest one. Okay, it's elephant here. Can you see the elephant in this picture of the forest? Okay, so the elephant in the forest is the one who is seeing the forest. In fact, elephant, I have taken a picture of a forest from the eyes of elephant, okay? So elephant exists, and elephant is seeing the forest. So once you are seeing the forest, you can imagine that you are seeing inside out from elephant's view, okay? Why am I saying so? Here that. Again, I want to reinsist that when a child is living the life, the child is not behaving. Okay, the child is living the life and solving the problem. The child doesn't see himself from outside. The child doesn't have a kind of imagination of seeing himself with a camera installed at the corner of a room, seeing himself and the mom interacting with each other. Okay, the child sees from eye and can't see herself or himself. The child walks around and does something. Okay, so like an elephant, once you want to get a correct and accurate understanding or interpretation about a child's behavior, right after you walk around the elephant to inspect every aspect of that behavior, then it's very important to put yourself in the shoes of your child and see the life from her point of view. And it's not easily possible until you become friends with your own childhood. Each one of us as parents or caregivers or therapists for sure have had some childhood area with lots of experiences, good or bad, that we are not in continued and complete peace with. So the reason that sometimes we cannot have good empathy with a child is that we cannot have a good sympathy with our childhood, and we cannot see the life from the lens of the elephant inside out. So based on my experience, it's a kind of it's based on my experience that I have made this infogram here. There is kind of a family and a spectrum from the parents who is fully insensitive to fully sensitive. The parent who is fully pessimist to the family who is fully optimistic. So there are 4 different areas. Every time that we have to access, there are 4 different areas. And to be honest, the good parenting style or behavior modification needs you to stay the majority of your time during interaction with your child or during thinking about your child to stay in the green area or sometimes crossing to the yellow and getting back to green. But the red area is the border in which is saying that if a person, for example, be fully sensitive, might be fully controller. A person who is sensitive and optimist might be perfectionist. A person who is fully sensitive and a little pessimist is called too worried. A person who is insensitive and doesn't care about anything might be having negligence. A person who is insensitive and pessimist might be passive. Does it make sense to you? So it's the picture I wanted to just make, double emphasize on. The more you get connected to your ideology in the life, whether you are optimistic or pessimistic or sensitive or insensitive, or how much you care, or are you in good peace with your own, can can shed a light on how you can parent or modify a behavior inside out. So it's a term in psychology that I'm not going to have a kind of proper maneuver on that because I'm not expert in this field, but 4 styles of parenting are listed here that the person who is a fair and balanced level of positive attention to the child and positive and fair expectation from the child is a good level of parenting, which is called authoritative. And then the person who is very giving very much to the child, but doesn't expect anything from the child back, is kind of permissive. So different style of parenting that maybe someday I will ask our psychotherapist or wonderful psychotherapist, Miss Mary, to talk about the parenting style and attachment in a different workshop. But at the moment, what we want to double emphasize on is the relationship with this chart and that chart, and how parenting style might vary between your own personal experience. So next thing is about self-reflection. Just take a look at these socks. These socks are for an adult, and these socks would be for a 5-year-old girl. Once you go to the closet and you see different sizes of socks, you can see that, oh, I need a stop sign to remember that my child is a little child who hasn't lived her life yet, who hasn't gained experience, who hasn't gained enough skill. So why I become nervous of some socially inappropriate way, as if I do not remember how badly behaving sometimes I used to behave when I was a child. When I was a child, I used to behave badly. If I asked my mom or dad, they would say that, don't you remember that one day you threw a stone at a car? Don't you remember that you even did a kind of minor stealing of some bubble gum from some shop? Don't you remember that you got angry with your friend and pushed him back and push him to a tree, for example? So once we as parents or therapists see the same behavior from a child, we feel that we have to fix it. There is a problem that we have to fix it. But we don't remember that there is a difference in sizes of the socks. And in addition to the size of the socks, what are the other differences between you as an adult and a child? A self-reflection, it's a food for thought. You can think later about that. The other thing is that I really invite you all to think of an embarrassing memory. It's very hard for you to think of an embarrassing memory, and I give you 1 minute to keep thinking of that. In the meantime, I'm talking about different things, but I really invite you to just imagine yourself as a little girl or boy who made something fully unacceptable, that right now that you can remember that memory, you just wanted the life to stop and you haven't done that. You wouldn't have done that, okay? Just imagine that there is a kind of memory that made you feel that if I was in the shoes of my mom or dad, I would feel badly disappointed after that. So once you think of such behavior or that bad memory or embarrassing memory, and right now that you are comparing the current status, that now you are a kind of teacher, engineer, therapist, worker, pediatrician, I don't know, any job or occupation that you have, or even uh, housewife, a spouse, parent, mom, single mom, single dad, whoever, same value and respect. But you as a grown-up person who is attending the workshop might have this confidence to say that now I'm grown up, and then the thing that I want you to pay attention to is this question. Right now that you have remembered that embarrassing memory, how did you justify that memory? It's very important. For example, right now you can say, "Mm, you know, when I was a child, I stole some bubble gum from a toy shop. Actually, I just did it once. First of all, I just did it once. It was not a routine. Secondly, I didn't have money because my mom yesterday didn't give me my pocket money. Then I didn't have enough money. Normally, I used to have that money on Monday, but my mom forgot to give me. So I decided to steal it because the person at the grocery store was kind of having a frown on eyes, and I got panicked and I felt nervous of saying, "Can you lend a bubble gum to me?" So I just wanted to discreetly pick it, and I didn't think that it was stealing, so I just picked it without permission. So it's the way you justify that memory. Why didn't you say that it is a very brutal way of stealing and it is forbidden, and if you do that, you will be sent to a jail? Why you don't think that if you had such memory, the future of your life would move in a way that you will be sent to a jail or you would become an addicted person in life? Because now you have made your future that you were dreaming before. So now that you are grown up and a confident person, you can confidently justify the bad memory that you used to make. Now, even though you feel embarrassed, but you try to justify to wipe it out from the memory or bring some reasons of why you had to do that. And remember that now you can talk, you can use your word. You, as a grown up person, have gotten lots of social credit. And once you talk about that, everyone gets convinced and say, "Oh, fine, so cute boy, so cute girl. Okay, we all have done the same thing. No worries. Okay, let's bygone be bygone." But imagine that if your child said, mm, "Mom, mm, I picked the bubble gum and ate it." "Why did you do that? You wanna become the stealer, you wanna become the thief, don't you know that it's a bad behavior, blah, 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 blah." Then that's the point that I wanted to mention. We don't give the same right to our children because they cannot advocate properly or justify their behavior sometimes because of lack of wording or lack of cognitive complexity of thought, whatever. So it's very important to run some self-reflection at this point. And right now, I just want you to think of an ideal child. An ideal child with zero behavioral issue. ideal child with zero behavioral issue. And I'm going to ask a follow-up question. So you can write down your guess about what my follow-up question would be. I'm going to write a follow-up question at the moment, in 30 seconds or so, and then you can compare with what you have imagined or would guess. Just even if you don't have access to pen and paper, just guess. So an ideal child with zero behavioral issue. The follow-up question is that once you were reading ideal child with zero behavior, why the word ideal seems unfair and unrealistic? It's very important to think of that question. Sometimes during the workshop, we do not provide information. Sometimes we provide some questions that provoke thinking of that. You can keep thinking of this question, that why the word ideal and zero behavioral issues seem unfair or unrealistic. I know that sometimes we can have a very quick, simple answer about that, but I invite you kindly to think more and more about it. And there's a Q&A question time. So right now we can deactivate recording, and then it's time for us to have a kind of 10 minutes Q&A. Thank you very much for your attention.